How many opportunities have you missed out on because you've needed the validation from somebody else in order to have the courage to do it? And how many of those opportunities could have taken you one step closer to a goal? Because it is a lot of power to give away to somebody, to the people around us, to seek their validation in order to allow ourselves to do what we want. When I was younger, through learned behavior, I felt like it was not my place to understand myself and to know myself, and that was everybody else's job to measure my worth and to validate me. If I created something, I needed to get validation for what I've created. Otherwise, if somebody doesn't like it, it's trash and I need to throw it out, and that's just like it. And how many times do we create things, and even if we like it, our doubt completely overshadows that, and we need somebody else's approval, because if we don't, then we just do not have the confidence and the courage to say that, well, I don't care what you think, I like it, and that's enough for me. And I know that, validating yourself and learning how to do that can seem like a very, monumental task, but it's easier than you might think. How do you feel about yourself when you are talking to somebody else and asking them, do you think that this sounds okay? Do you think that this looks okay? Like, do you think that I look okay? Do I look okay in this outfit? And, sometimes it's appropriate. I think a 90-10 ratio, 90% is you validating yourself, 10% you can ask somebody else for their opinion, but not take it on ultimately, because creation is such a deeply personal thing. And when we create in a way where the survival rate of our creation is entirely based off of other people's opinion, how are we supposed to grow as a musician? How are we supposed to even let anybody know what our skills are, our talents, our interests when it comes to creativity, potential collaborators? How are they supposed to know who you are? How are they supposed to know that they like you if they don't even know who you are, if you don't even know who you are? Because you're building your self-concept based off of what other people are saying about you. Validating yourself is such an incredibly powerful thing, because it just gives you a free ticket to just go and just do it. And who cares what anyone else thinks about my art, because I like it. And then it just becomes exponentially more cool. And this doesn't have to be just to do with art. I found my personal style through, self-validation. When I was younger, if I looked really good, or, I knew I looked good, and then if my friends didn't compliment me or say anything, or kind of just like played it down, even though I knew I looked good, I would soak it in, and it would crash me, and I would just feel so uncomfortable in whatever I'm wearing. But because I validate myself, I can put together an outfit, and I can look in the mirror and I can say, I think that I look damn good. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And so then when I walk into a space and, somebody's like, trying to minimize me, or even if somebody like gives me a backhanded compliment or something like that, I can just be like, I don't even care, because I think I look good. And that's a really good feeling, because it creates this rebound effect, no matter what anyone throws at you, backhanded compliment, no compliment at all, weird looks, anything, it just bounces off. We're going to do a little exercise. I want you to close your eyes. While you're listening to this video, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to envision yourself, not anyone else, yourself, as the best version of you. What are they wearing? What do they look like? What does your hair look like? How does it feel inside to be the best version of you? What does your day-to-day look like? You wake up in the morning or the afternoon, you go and do whatever you do in your day, whatever that looks like for you. What are the kinds of people that you are surrounded by? What kind of car do you drive? All of these things are completely and 100% possible, as long as your face is plastered right on top of that vision. You can take incremental steps. And I think that the best way to start that is by understanding who you are, what you are and what you aren't. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So when we're thinking about who am I, what are my morals and my values? What kind of person would I become if I lived every day in line with my morals and my values? Who would I be if I watched some YouTube videos that teach me about psychology, how to rewire my brain, cognitive behavioral therapy, things like that? These are all things that I did. And the person that I am today is miles and miles away from the person that I used to be. And I don't say that to brag. I say these things because I want it to be understood that these things are possible for everyone. I absolutely know what it feels like to think that the last person whose validation matters is my own. But it is proven to be the most powerful and reassuring validation that I could have ever gotten from anyone else. Seeking validation is like a drug. If you have somebody around you that validates you in a really, really amped up way, they think that the sun shines out of your backside. And if your own self-concept doesn't align with that, you are going to feed and feed and feed into that validation. And if you have other friends around you that maybe necessarily don't validate you in that kind of way, but it's kind of a 50-50 chance, maybe they secretly, are a bit threatened by you. So they don't want you to have a big head. They don't want you to know how great they think you are. So instead of validating you and giving you exactly what you deserve and want, instead they, take subtle jabs, or they don't give credit where credit is due on how beautiful or handsome or talented you are. That is also really unhealthy, and we can also get addicted to that kind of validation. But when we do it ourselves, we have complete control over it. And I think if you're going into something like the music industry, or just anything in general, doesn't have to be music, that if you can validate yourself because you know your skills, you know who you are and what you're not, your morals and values, you know those, you know what you're capable of, even if you haven't actualized it into reality yet. And all of those things mean that you can look inside of yourself and say, even if I'm having a bad day, everything that I know I can be is still there. That potential is still there. You can go through your everyday life validating yourself because you know that, and you can hold on to that. It's not like you're being taken at face value. You can't take yourself at face value if you know yourself. Other people are going to take you at face value, especially like if you have intimate moments with yourself, if you know yourself intimately like that and other people don't, they're not going to be able to see, what's so special about you. Well, if you don't know what's so special about me, then it doesn't even matter, because I know what's special about me. So I can validate myself in whatever I'm doing and wherever I'm going. Change begins and it ends with you. And there is no amount of validation that somebody else can give us that we couldn't give ourselves 100 times over. And there is no kind of validation that is sweeter than the validation that we can give ourselves, because we can rely on it. I have bad days, But that self-concept is so ingrained inside of me that I know that even if I have a bad day, I know it's just a bad day. And I know that it doesn't make who I am. So the next time you find yourself wanting to ask somebody else for validation, I want you to stop. I want you to stop, and I want you to try and give that validation to yourself instead. And maybe, if it's too difficult, maybe that's just a sign that you need to make some adjustments so that you can feel more comfortable in your own skin. I think that everybody deserves that. And I think that, creative people can sometimes struggle with that. So try and catch yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you can't do it all the time. It's a process and it takes time. And that's okay because you have time. And you've got lots of it. I hope that this video helped. And I will see you in the next one.